Hello, everybody, and welcome to our AutoCAD Civil 3D webinar series, and specifically the first part of the series, FDOT Civil 3D State Toolkit Tools. We're very excited to be here today with FES on behalf of Digital Drafting Systems. Doug, if you can, go ahead and jump to that next slide for me, and we're going to go over some quick logistics here. Okay, so all of the attendees will be muted throughout this presentation. If you have questions that come up through the presentation, please do send those to us through the questions box. That's going to be the best way to get those to us. And at the very end, if time permits, we're going to have a Q&A session where we will be reading questions off and answering those as well. The webinar will be recorded, and that will be available. If you registered for this webinar, you will receive an email later today with that recording, or you can find it on our YouTube channel as well, or our website. Any questions, concerns, anything like that, please give us a call at 305-445-6480 or email us at info@ddscad.com. Real quick note here in terms of the PDH credits, you don't need to send your PE license number to the president email here on the screen, but what you will need to do or what will happen is after the presentation, we will be providing you with a certificate of attendance, and you will then need to use that to self-report. So just please do keep that in mind. Okay, Doug, one more slide over. And so again, a little quick agenda here for today. We have our welcome that we've just done. I'm about to turn it over to Tej, who is going to do his introduction, as well as the FES Miami upcoming events. And then he's going to go ahead and turn it over to Doug from our DDS CAD team here, who's going to go through the actual webinar presentation. So without further ado, Tej, go ahead and take it away.
Sure. Thank you, Alan. So welcome everyone. Big welcome to our very first session for AutoCAD Civil 3D. Of course, you can see the agenda here. Quick introduction. I'm Tej Rana, the president for the Engineering Society Miami chapter, who's organizing this, and big thanks to DDS CAD for doing this training with us. Let's move on to the next slide. Yeah. That's welcome everybody. If you can go to the next slide, Doug. Yeah, so this is our Miami chapter, our board, the amazing team we have here who plans all the events and all the things which we do to serve the community. So, and also want to quickly thank everything we do is with the support of our sponsors. So these are our platinum sponsors, and then our gold sponsors, and also our silver sponsors. So I want to thank all our sponsors, without which we could not do any of the events which we do. So yeah, just showing our gold and then also our silver. Yeah, moving on. Also, we do a lot with the universities. We do have 4 student chapters with FIU, with UM, and with MDC Kendall, as well as Wolfson campus. And I'm hoping we do have a lot of the students who are taking benefit of this, as this training is being offered free to the students as a complimentary thing to the students. So I'm hoping they are taking benefit of this and will take benefit of the other 2 which are scheduled for next month's coming months. Next slide, please. So what we have coming up is today itself we have our interesting event. Other than this event, we have in the evening we have a social and a panel with Women in Engineering celebrating the Women History Month, which is this month. And this is in Doral Yard. We are already sold out, so it's some amazing thing. And we have an amazing panel and moderator scheduled for this event, and of course the QR code is there, but I think we are already sold out, so I don't think it's open. So but I'm sure a lot of you who are here will be attending this, so looking forward to seeing you this evening. What else we have coming up is also the other 2 sessions of the AutoCAD Civil 3D. The next one is based on intersections called the SACs and roundabouts, which is scheduled for April 24th. And the 3rd session will be also a virtual session scheduled for on corridor easy tools for Civil 3D on May 22nd. So look forward for those emails and for those as and when they come out, and to take full benefit of that. We also have our another big event coming up. Oh, I think we have also our golf course event coming up, for which we raise money for the tournament, for the scholarship. So it's a golf tournament which is coming up in May. So that is another event we have coming up. And now, without any further ado, let me introduce our speaker, Doug Medley. He's Autodesk specialist, software specialist, and a trainer for AutoCAD Civil 3D, Map 3D, InfraWorks, Architect, Revit, Revit Structures, and other Autodesk products. And he's been doing this for 35 plus years. So you can understand the amount of expertise he brings and what you will be hearing from. He has done thousands of specialized trainings, and also with FDOT, and also participated in FDOT Florida Design Expo, as well as FLUG. I know a lot of us go to FLUG every year. So, and I'm sure some of you are attending this, must have heard about this training. So very important trainings for the industry. And Doug has been a big a person pioneering all these trainings and conducting this and serving the industry. So let's welcome, with any further ado, let's welcome Doug Medley. And over to you, Doug. Waiting to hear from you.
Thank you, Tej. Good day to everybody. Again, my name is Doug Medley. I am an infrastructure technical specialist with DDS CAD these days. So again, I want to welcome you to today's topic of the FDOT Civil 3D State Toolkit. Now, today what we're going to do is this is going to be an overview of the FDOT State Kit. I'm going to give you a little history about the kit. I'm going to show you where to download the kit. We're going to talk about who uses the kit, and then I'm going to take you through some of the features and the functionality. I can't do a lot of great detail because we only have about 45 to 50 minutes that we can do for this presentation today. So let's get this thing started. So why Civil 3D and the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit? Well, around 2010, the DOT made a decision that they wanted to have two CAD platforms available for both the DOT offices and your engineering firms to deliver FDOT projects based upon their CAD standards. And at that time, the DOT was only using MicroStation and GeoPack, or whatever flavor of the add-on for MicroStation they were using at that time. Okay, so the FDOT reached out to Autodesk after they saw that other states were using Civil 3D within their FDOT departments, and they wanted to see about using Civil 3D for FDOT projects. So once a decision was made to use Autodesk Civil 3D, Autodesk and the FDOT set forth on a rollout plan of Civil 3D and the creation of the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit tools. Now, once this kit was completed, and they created this custom Civil 3D tools, and the FDOT State Kit training was delivered at all of the district's offices. And these training classes included topics on roadway and roadway design and advanced roadway design and drainage design. And all these were based on Civil 3D and the FDOT State Kit using the FDOT CAD standards. And I was part of the development of all those training materials that we used in all the district offices when we started this rollout. And there's quite a lot of material available for learning how to use the FDOT State Kit. So who uses it? Well, basically the FDOT State Kit is used both by the FDOT's survey, roadway, drainage engineers and designers and engineering firms who are required to deliver FDOT projects based upon the FDOT's CAD standards using AutoCAD Civil 3D. And a little point that I want to bring out here is that when, if your firm is awarded a contract and you're allowed to make a delivery using Civil 3D, using the FDOT State Kit, it has to be delivered in a native format. It can't be done in a different application and then saved to a DWG AutoCAD format and delivered. It has to be done in a native Civil 3D format. So when those drawing files are opened up in the tool space, you're going to see surfaces and alignments and profiles and all the things that are associated with a true Civil 3D project. So what is the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit? Well, basically, it's a set of CAD standards for the production, the delivery, and the processing of the forward transportation system plans. Okay, so the FDOT production office, which we like to call the central office in Tallahassee, worked with Autodesk and their internal developers at the DOT's office, and they developed all these tools to create this state kit, which is used to coordinate the standards for the department's approved design software. In this case, we're talking about the Autodesk AutoCAD Civil 3D. So what's included in the FDOT state kit? Well, when you install the kit, the first thing you're going to have on your desktop is you're going to have a shortcut to start the kit with. You're also going to have a folder installed on your hard drive that's going to have all the tools and everything the state kit has to offer someone who wants to use it, okay? And it could be things like the blocks, the pay item database, the parts catalog, the templates, the fonts, the line types, plot support files, custom sub-assemblies that the FDOT uses for their roadwork, a custom tool palette, and help documentation written specific for the FDOT tools, okay? And they also create a custom profile that is used when you use this icon here to start Civil 3D using the FDOT state kit. And also, when you fire up Civil 3D, it also now has a new tab in your Civil 3D ribbon called the FDOT tab, and we'll go over some of these tools here today. Also, there's a custom tool palette that is created for you for all your custom assemblies, and we'll look at that briefly as well today. Now, system requirements, if you can run Civil 3D, you can run the FDOT state kit. Now, some of you may have dabbled with the state kit in prior releases, so if you're installing the 2025 version of Civil 3D and the 2025 version of the FDOT state kit, you can install that alongside of those other versions you may have installed on your machine, and it's not going to affect them, okay? Now, we have a rule. The version of AutoCAD Civil 3D that you're using requires you to download the version of Civil 3D state kit that you want to use. So if you're using Civil 3D 2025, then you must use the FDOT 2025 Civil 3D state kit. Okay, that's the one that you must install. Now, some of you are on 25 yet. You may be using 24, 23 Civil 3D. So those kits are still available. They're not available at the normal download site. You'd have to go looking for what they call the FDOT Software Archive downloads, and you can just do a Google search to find them, and you could download either the kit for 2024 or for 2023. Okay, now we recommend always, before you start installing any of the FDOT state kits, that make sure whatever version of Civil 3D you're using has all the appropriate updates and service packs installed. Now you can use that new access tool that Autodesk has developed to keep your software up to date, or you can download to your, log into your subscription account, all right, and go to products and services, product updates, service packs and updates, and you can download the updates from there. Now remember, Civil 3D starts its life out as AutoCAD. Then they load on top of it a product called AutoCAD Map, and then another product, the Civil 3D, is loaded on top of that. So when you're bringing your updates, you want to start out with your AutoCAD updates, then your AutoCAD Map updates, and then your Civil 3D updates. If you're not sure what updates you have in your machine, sometimes just start with the oldest update for AutoCAD and just work your way through all those updates. And the software will tell you if it's been installed or not, and you can just go to the next one. So just do the AutoCAD first, then the AutoCAD Map, then the Civil 3D. Now, one caution, that if you have any customization that you've made on your machine, like just plain Civil 3D, you want to back up any of those customizations that you've done, because sometimes these updates will overwrite those things. Just want to make you aware of that. Okay, now installation steps. So where do you download the Civil 3D state kit from? In this case, the Civil 3D 2025 state kit. Just do a Google search or use whatever search engine you want to use, and just type in FDOT state kit. You're going to get some results, and then from the results, just pick on the FDOT 2025 C3D and AutoCAD state kit, and you'll be taken to this page. Now, if you already have 2025 installed, Civil 3D installed on state kit installed in your machine, I want you to uninstall it and then download the new version, because there has been an update to the state kit. So just uninstall and then reinstall the new kit. Now, basically, when you get to this page right here, you'll see that there's an installation guide and a release note. You know, I kind of recommend you download those prior to installing, but if you download the FDOT 2025.c3d file here, this is a zip file. When you unzip it, that file will contain these two installation guide and the release notes information. All right, there's also an AutoCAD only installation. Okay, so if you have machines in your office that don't have Civil 3D on them, and you want to install a kind of a lesser version of the state kit, you have a version specifically for the AutoCAD only installation. The rule is this: is you cannot install the AutoCAD only installation on the same machine that has the Civil 3D state kit installed. Okay, they have to be two separate machines. Okay, so when you select that file and you download it to a local location, you want to unzip it. And in that zip file, you're going to have the FDOT 2025.c3d.msi file. That's your installer file. And then you're going to have, again, the installation guide in the What's New release folder. So once you've downloaded and you unzipped it, you basically will go to get ready to start the process of installing the state kit. Now, another rule. You must start Civil 3D 2025 or whatever version of Civil 3D you're installing the state kit on. You must start that at least one time prior to installing the state kit. Okay, you have to start it, let it run through the install, then the startup process, get to the command line, and then you simply quit Civil 3D. Then you can go in and start the installation process for the state kit, because we need certain files and folders to be in place before the kit can be the FDOT state kit can be installed correctly. So once we've done that, we click on that MSI file, we start installation, you come to a welcome screen. Okay, you hit next. Right, from there, you go over here and you say, yes, I agree to the terms and conditions to install this, the end user license agreement, you hit next. The next screen is important. It's asking you, where do you want it to be placed? Where do you want the state kit to be installed? Use the default, C:/FDOT 2025.c3d, right? Hit next to continue, right? Then it's going to say, where are you going to be storing your projects, right? The default is C:/project. Let's leave the default. We can change that later, but for right now, just use the default. Hit next to continue. Then you come to the screen that says, all right, you are now ready to install. Hit the install button. It's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes to do the complete install. When it's done with the install, you will get a screen that says you've completed it, and you hit finish. And so now you're ready to go. So now on your desktop, you're going to have an icon, and you're going to have a folder that's going to be the FDOT 2025 C3 folder. Okay, now it's important, always launch the FDOT state kit in Civil 3D from this icon, because it has a custom profile. If you don't start it that way, then the state kit will not function correctly. Never go to a file folder and then double click on a DWG file and have it start up. It's not going to start and run correctly. Right. So let me just very quickly jump over to this folder. Okay, so when that folder's installed, you have a folder called Apps, which has all the tools that run inside and outside of Civil 3D. Okay, so these are just all the tools that they have created for the state kit. Some run in Civil 3D, some run on the outside of Civil 3D. All right, then we have a data folder. All right, the data folder, all right, contains all the things that make the kit work: the blocks, the definitions, the FDOT sign assemblies, the layering standards, the multi-line patterns, pay item data, pipe catalog, and most importantly, the templates that are used when we go to create files inside the state kit that we're going to be using. And this has all the styles and the layering standards and everything set up for Civil 3D and the state kit to work properly. Okay. All right, and then the other one is the support folder. Right, and this is where they keep their fonts and their line types and their plot definitions and their profiles and their tool palettes. That's where all the tools are kept at. All right. So once the installation is complete, as I said before, you get an icon and you get a folder. And in this folder, we have all the tools that are available to us that we can run outside of Civil 3D. And the ones that we're going to talk about today is the Create Project tool, the Land XML Grouper tool, and the Visualization tool. And then if we have time, we're going to talk about the Profile Scrubber. All right, so the Create Project tool is something we are going to go over today. We're just not going to go through it. We're going to do screenshots with it because it takes a little long to run it, because it requires Civil 3D to be open and closed, and I've already got it open. So the Create Project tool is an application that lets you create an FDOT Civil 3D project, which is something that you have to make this the state kit work correctly, right? So it sets up the appropriate directory structure and its corresponding subdirectory and other required components specific to Civil 3D. Again, Civil 3D must be shut down in order for this application to run. All right, so when you click on that, you get the Create Project dialog box that pops up. All right, so there's a couple things that you have to know about this here. All right, when you look at these boxes here. When you see something that has a color of green to it, that means that the software has recognized, in this case, this folder, and that folder is good to use. When you're entering your what they call the financial project information code, which is your project number, as you type these numbers in, they'll start out by being black. As you go across through here, when you've met the conditions of that box, they will turn green. That way you know that you've completed requirements. Then you just go to the next box. So I'm just going to use an example project number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so this is what you want to do when you want to play with a kit in the beginning, is just create a fictitious project number, just something that you can use to create a project with. So we would fill that project information out. We could put the project manager information in here. If we have some federal aid information, our federal aid number, we can put that information in, and we can fill out some information here. But for right now, we're just going to create a project called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in the projects folder. So then we hit the create button. All right. Then what will happen is your little box that pops up, and it says that your FDOT AutoCAD Civil 3D default sheet sets need to be modified. So it's going to start Civil 3D. Press the OK key to continue. Then it starts up Civil 3D. When Civil 3D is started, it then basically tells you that the DST files have been successfully updated. Right. And then pick the OK to close the update project default DST file pop-up. Right. And then you exit out of Civil 3D like you normally would. However you exit out of Civil 3D. Okay. Then you get another little box that pops up, and it's going to tell you that the project has been successfully created. All right, for the financial project number that we've typed in. You hit OK to close this little box. It'll pop up. Now you are still left in the create project dialog box, so that you must close this box before we continue. So just pick on the close button, and it will close the create project dialog box, and now you've created your first project. Right. So if you use your file explorer, you could go to whatever the project is. Again, ours is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let me just jump over to that project really quick. Right. And so here's what you get: is you get a directory structure that's created out of a directory structure that's part of the FDOT state kit. And so these directories are very important. And one of the things that you can't do is you can't go in and delete these directories, nor should you rename them, because we need these names of these directories. All right, in order for the create file tool to work correctly. Okay. All right. Now, a couple other tools that we have is we have an FDOT XML signing. If you have XML data that you want to send to somebody, we can use this digital signing tool to basically digital sign this, and when you send it to somebody, they can verify that the data that you sent them is correct. Another tool that we have is a project validator. This tool is used at the end, and these are tools that are run outside of Civil 3D. Right? And basically what this does is it goes through and it reads the whole project directory, and it flags any file inconsistencies not allowed by the CAD standards from the FDOT. All right? And then it generates a report for you to go up and clean up before you deliver the project to the FDOT. Then we have a tool called the Land XML Converter. Now, we won't get into much detail today, but we have other programs inside the DOT that they use called Electronic Field Book, which is EFB, the KC tools, all right, which is an old Autodesk program that's still out there and running. They have data still around the DOT for that. And they also have GeoPack input data. And so this tool converts Land XML data that could be exported out of any one of those programs, and then from EFB to KC and then to GeoPack. All right, we have the Land XML Grouper tool. Now, the Land XML Grouper tool is a very important tool, basically at the start of almost every DOT project, because we have to go out and gather the surveying data, and then we have to create a certain number of files for the deliverables for that part of the project. So we use the Land XML Grouper to do that. And usually that data is coming from our electronic field book that we push down to Land XML files, and then we bring those Land XML files in the grouping tool. And we'll do one of those here in just a little bit. All right, the Land XML visualization tool or visualizer tool. This is a tool that allows us to look at Land XML files outside of Civil 3D. Okay, and so as long as they follow the Land XML 1.2 format, we can look at them. They can be surfaces and COGO points and horizontal and vertical alignments and cross sections, the pipe networks and plan features. We can look at them in the plan view. We can look at them in a profile view, and we can look at them in a design cross section, okay, or a section view. All right, we'll try to look at that if we have time. Okay, now when we fire up Civil 3D for the first time, as I said, you get a brand new tab in your Civil 3D ribbon, and it's called the FDOT tab. All right, these are all the tools that are available to us inside of the FDOT state kit. Now, if you don't see your ribbon at the command prompt, you can type in FDOT ribbon and you'll get that autofill that'll pop up, and there'll be an option for FDOT ribbon tab core. Pick on that, and when you hit enter, your ribbon should appear in your Civil 3D ribbon. All right, if it doesn't, then we have another problem that we can talk about later. Okay, if you for some reason want to remove that tab out of the ribbon, you can type in remove FDO tab and it will remove it. All right, now create file. The create file tool is one that we have to talk about, and we will do that one live. And what this does is this launches an application so that we can automatically create new files based upon the FDOT standards into our project structure that we created when we used the create project tool. So here we go. So we're going to go over here to the create file tool. Now, before we start with that, I want to go to the home tab, and I want to pick under tool palettes, and I want to bring up the tool palette that the FDOT state kit creates. And this tool palette is that we use when we're doing roadway design work. So we have things like assemblies, we have barriers, we have curbs and gutters, we have daylighting, general, we have our lanes, we have our medians, right? And we have our triple R milling and overlay assembly or sub-assembly. So these are things that we'd use when we're doing a roadway project. Now, if you right click on this menu bar over here, you'll see we also have one for FDOT structures and one for FDOT traffic tools. But today we're just going to show the FDOT sub-assembly. So this would be used when you do roadway work. I'm going to turn that off now. I'm going to jump back over to the FDOT tab, and I'm going to hover over the create file tools. So whenever you hover over one of these tools, you'll get a tooltip. If you let it sit there for a second, you'll get an expanded tooltip. Okay, now when we pick on this, this launches the create file application, so we automatically create a new drawing based upon the FDOT standards. So that's what I'm going to do. Pick on the create file tool. Okay, now the first thing that you have to do when this tool comes up is you have to select the current project. If it's your first time in, you won't even have a project. So I'm going to go up and I'm going to hit the browse button, and I'm going to go over here and go to a little shortcut I've got here, and I'm going to go to the project we just created. All right, then I'm going to hit select the folder. So now I've set the project folder where my files are going to be placed. Then I pick what discipline am I going to be working in. So my discipline is going to be, in this case, survey. So you can say I can go from architectural all the way down to utilities. And I'm going to do survey. So in survey, under my file group, I've got two types: survey design files or survey sheet files. All right, my output files. I'm going to do my design files. So I can do everything from a drainage structure all the way down to a survey of verified utilities. And these are typically the drawing files that need to be part in your delivery set on a survey project. Now I'm going to start out with the one here called Serve RD. All right, we call this the work in progress or the show your work file. This is where you do probably most of your work when you're doing survey data collection and putting this part of the project together. Now, right down we go to the output folder, you'll see that the word survey is highlighted in green. That means the software has found the survey folder underneath this project. If it comes back red, that means for whatever reason, for some reason, it can't find the right folder under the whatever project. So you need to go out and browse to find the folder. Once it finds it, it turns green. Then it says, well, I have found the template for this particular file for the Serve RD. All right, and it's this one here called survey.dwt that's in the FDOT 2025.c3d data templates folder. All right, then I pick the county that I'm working in, right? And then when I do that, it should select the correct coordinate system, all right? And we're using the FL83 coordinate system, and so we have EF, which is east feet, NF, which is north feet, WF, which is west feet. We're going to do north feet, all right? So now I've set the project, I told it the discipline, I said the file group, I picked the file type. All right, the only thing last to look at here is it what else is going to be part of that file name. So the file name is going to be called SURVRD, and then it's going to put a file sequence of 01 because in the survey folder it did not find that file yet, so it's going to add 01 to it. If I create this file again, it looks in the folder, it sees the 01, the next file is going to be 02. And that's the way that it sequences the files for every type of file that you create. So I'm going to pick on create open a file. So what it does, and it creates that file and it opens it up in the current session. All right, I'm going to go up here under discipline and I'm going to change to roadway. And I'm going to go under roadway under file group, and you can see that I have a different types of files. I'm going to do roadway design file, right? And you can see all the different files that I can create. I'm going to pick on the one here called DSGNRD, right? A 2D plan proposed. It already knows the folder, it already knows the template, all right, and it knows the county and the coordinate system. I'm going to create, and I'm going to open that file. All right, I'm going to open up one more file, and I'm going to go up here to drainage. All right, when I go to drainage, drainage design file, and I'm going to pick on this one here called drainage structures proposed, the DRPRRD file. All right, same thing, file sequence is 0, it knows the folder, and it knows the template it's going to use. It's got the county and the coordinate system. I'm going to open that file. So I'm just going through and opening up certain files for this presentation. You typically wouldn't do all these at once. All right, once they're opened up, I close this create file tool, and now I have all these different files in here. Okay, so I'm going to go back over to the SURF-RD file. Okay, now if I very quickly go to the Home tab and I go over to the Layer Manager, you can see that we have all these layers that are part of this particular file. Right? So these are all the layers that I can use in this particular file. If I go over here under my Settings tab and I go under Point and I look under my point styles, it has all the point styles already set up by the FDOT the way that they want to see those. It has all the label styles that are set up the way that they want to see these in a drawing. Okay, so each template that we use in here has all the settings and the commands, all right, and all the layers already set up available for us. And these layers typically match the exact same layer names that we use in the MicroStation application. Okay, all right. So now we've gone through, let's go back over to the FDOT, all right? Now, we have a tool here called the Sheet Set Organizer. Now, don't confuse this with Sheet Set Manager. The Sheet Set Organizer is a tool that the FDOT wrote that looks into your active project, and then it looks for all the DST files that may be created for different phases of that project, whether they're for survey, whether they're for roadway, whether they're for drainage, whether they're for traffic, all right? And it assembles them all together where you can work with all them together in a larger group. Right? All right, now we'll move over here to the tools panel. All right, now I'm going to jump over here to a file that I've got that already has an in it. We have a tool here called the 2-point twist. All right, the 2-point twist works like this. You pick it, starting point, you pick another point, and it just rotates the file 90 degrees. Basically, wherever you pick the 2 points, that determines the rotation angle. That's just how you twist. It's kind of a fancy version of the old AutoCAD DView twist command where you had to type in, your rotation value. All right, untwist it, brings it back. The Land XML converter tool, that's the same tool that we saw out on the file folder that's on your desktop that converts that data, the EFB data, into KC or into GeoPack data. Okay, now the Land XML grouper tool. All right, I'm going to jump into it really quickly. The Land XML grouper tool is where we take this surveying data. Now remember, this is a tool that we can run inside of Civil 3D or outside of Civil 3D. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go up here to File, and I'm going to go to Open, and I'm going to go out into a folder that has some data. Now these 4 folders right here are basically data that we've collected out in the field with an electronic field book. And then we've taken that data and we push it out into XML files, which we see here. So I'm going to pick on this one right here, and I'm going to hit Open. All right, now what we have is we have a bunch of filters. So we can filter for the drawing for TOPO-RD chains or TOPO-RD points, for drainage chains, drainage points, utility chains, utility points that are collected out in the field. All right, we're going to look at the TOPO-RD chains first, right click on it, create the group. And what it does, it creates this group based upon these codes that are in that XML file. All right, so it's finding a point name because the DOT does not use point numbers, they use point names. So it's looking for a code in that file for a zone, and then, in this case, for a code like AC or ditch or DWY, right, or shoulder, right? I'm gonna do the same thing for points. So I'm gonna select it, right click, create groups, And now under points, it's just looking for particular codes. Now I'm going to go down here to my GDTMRD chains. So I'm going to right click and create that one. Now that one's based upon zones 1 and 2, and it's based upon an attribute for ground. So on that one, it's got your point name, it's got the zone, and it's got the attribute. So that's what it's building these groups on, is because of the zone and the attribute. And so these are your chains where they've shot from here to here to here, ending here. Okay, I'm going to do one more for points. Okay. And the same thing when we're looking at points, is looking at zones and looking for an attribute. So these are all the different individual points that were created. Now, to get these groups out of here and into a format that I could use later inside of Civil 3D and import this into a survey database, is I simply select on it, I right click, I export the group, and I probably already have that group. I'm just going to override it. And I'm going to do the same thing for points. So that's the process you would use the Land XML grouper tool. So I'm going to go and exit out of it, and I'm not going to make any changes to my settings file. And I'm going to jump over here very quickly to my desktop, and I'm going to pick up my visualization tool here. Now, when opening up this tool, I go to File, I go to Open, and I'm going to start out by looking at that data that I just pushed out. All right, so here's my, I'm going to do my points first. So when I pick on it, and remember, this is just a tool that views that XML file. So right now I'm just seeing all the points that were in that XML file. All right, and I can zoom in, and there's all kinds of tools down here in the bottom, like doing a zoom extents or zoom center or zoom in or zoom out. All right, I can also expand the list and pick on a point, and it just highlights where that point is on the screen. We go out here to File, Open again. Now I'm going to open up the file that's going to be the one that has the chains. Now the chains file has the points and the chains in there, so it displays the points and the chains for me. All right. Now I can go up here and expand out my plan features, which are my chains. I can pick on any one of those features, and it just, I'll find one here in a second. There you can see how it highlights that chain for me. Now these chains, once I have them in the survey database, I could use those as break lines when I'm building my surface. Okay, so we're working with points that we use to build the surface from, and we're also using chains sometimes to delineate changes in elevations along that surface. Now the last thing I want to look at real quick here is I want to go Open, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to back up to this folder, and I'm going to pick on maybe I got this surface from the microstation side of the house is an XML file. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this to grayscale, and I'm going to turn off fill triangles. Now when I zoom in, you can see now that it basically shows me the 10s with my points in there. All right, I can also go in and turn my vectors on or off, so it gets rid of all the arrows in there. All right, I can have elevation slopes in there. I can turn those and show my vectors on. It shows my slope arrows. Okay, if I turn my fill triangles on, basically it lets me get a quick kind of overview of different elevations in there. It's kind of like doing an analysis in Civil 3D for elevation banding. This is kind of what you get. So this tool is just used for you to very quickly look at data before you bring it into Civil 3D. It's a really nice tool, and it's a tool that the FDOT Central Office actually created specifically for us. All right, let's jump back into Civil 3D. All right, so we've gone through the grouper, the super audit tool. This is a tool that's kind of one step above the regular AutoCAD audit, where it goes through and it just cleans up your drawing file, deletes any errors, and it also purges any unregistered applications, all right, from blocks and detail views. It just sort of fixes the drawings that might be giving you an error. Now the swap parts tool, this tool is a step up from the swap parts tool that comes with Civil 3D. The Civil 3D swap part tool you use, if you have like a structure you want to change from one structure to another, you can swap it, all right? Or if you have a pipe that you want to change from one pipe family to another, or pipe type, you can use it, but you can only do one at a time. This tool lets us do multiples. So instead of doing one, we could pick multiple structures and change all those structures to a different structure in one type, or change one pipe size or one pipe type, you know, to a different family, all at the same time. All right, the subassembly packer tool. This is a tool that allows us to archive any custom subassemblies. Remember, the DOT has custom subassemblies that you want to send along with your drawing if you're sending it to somebody, because they might not have the state kit and they need those subassemblies in order to be able to even maybe possibly rebuild the quarter model. If you don't have it, they're missing pieces. So This is what this tool does. The insert image is just the old map insert command. It's been around in Civil 3D for a pretty good while. So when I pick on it, all right, it pops up, and then you just go pick the file type that you want, and then you basically follow the prompts and you insert the image in. That's the tool that we've used. They just put it in there, so it's just easier for you to pick than to type in map by insert. Then the expand out tools, we can attach a DGN file. Remember, we can attach DGN files to XREFs in Civil 3D. And of course, we know the FDOT has a bunch of DGN files laying around. And we can also equip those DGN files so that we only see the part of the file that we want to work with. The layer translator tool is the AutoCAD layer translator tool that allows you just to take a drawing file and move layers from one type, name to a different. Just a translator, moves it from here to there. All right. Now we have another tool here that is called the Entity Manager. And the Entity Manager is a kind of a neat little tool that, because we have all kinds of pay items, thousands and thousands of pay items that are associated to things that we're using out of the state kit. And so that we go through and we use their takeoff, we can create, our quantities and our takeoff reports. Well, the Entity Manager allows us to go into our pay item database. Well, in this case, I'm looking at maybe some fencing. Now I can go in here and pick on this particular pay item, and I go down here and I can actually draw the geometry for that. So I'm going to pick on here, oops, and the reason why it didn't work was because I am in the wrong file. So let me switch over to my DGS design file. All right, let's try that again. And that was actually a good thing. So it shows you that if you're in the wrong file type, that tool won't work. All right. So now, when I draw that line, let me just minimize this for a second, and I hover over it, you'll see now that that line has a pay item associated to it. It has a category, it has a layer, and it basically has a length. All right. If I go in here and I draw myself a line, right, and I hover over it, it doesn't have any pay item information associated to it. If I go back over here to my pay item, I select the pay item that I want to apply to it, and I go up here to the top view and I pick on this, append the selected pay item. I pick it, I select on it, I hit enter, right? And now when I hover over it, you'll see that it now has that pay item associated to it. So this is a tool that allows us to go and draw geometry and have the pay items assigned to it, or we can go back in with existing geometry and assign the pay items to it when we're doing our takeoffs. All right. Now what I'm going to do very quickly is get rid of this, and I'm going to, okay, and I'm going to draw myself another line real quick. All right, go from there. All right, now overall on the traffic plans, all right, we have a FDOT sign tool, which you can go in and create your signage for your drawing. You can create your panels and the type of signposts that you have, and then place those in your drawing. That's what this tool does. The light pole manager is a tool that lets us now add our light pole data tables into the drawing. And then we have a FDOT multi-line tool. All right, this lets us draw custom multi-lines in Civil 3D. And then we have our pavement marking tool. And this tool lets us go through and create our striping and our chevrons and things like that. So this is just another tool that we use to create, custom FDOT geometry through these custom floating tool palettes. All right. The pavement block tool allows us to place, maybe like for an example, I'm doing roadway design, I'm doing my centerline striping, and I want to place my markers, reflective markers in it. I could use this tool for that. Okay. All right, now if I go over here to quantities, the thing to know is that the FDOT does not use the quantity takeoff tool that comes with Civil 3D. They've written their own quantity takeoff tool, and that's what you see in here. So if I pick on the 900 series takeoff manager, this is that particular tool, for going through and doing your quantity takeoffs. Okay, we have a little tool here called the line calc. And all that does, you go down, you select an entity on the screen, and basically it comes up, it tells you what's layered on, it tells you the type of it, it tells you the length. You could pick on multiple entities, and then you could create a table to place in your drawing that would give you these cumulative totals of that. It's just a neat little tool. Okay. All right, the transport sheets, I've never used that tool. All right. And then under quantities, there's a couple other things which I've never actually used. I don't usually mess around with the master pay item. Now, when you're working with the pay item for the first time, you're going to have to go through and update your pay item. It takes about 10 minutes to do that. You just have to let it work through, and it will update your pay item list and ask you where you want to save that into the current project. All right. Another tool over here we have is called the QC check. The QC check, when you pick on it, it goes to your drawing and it looks for things that doesn't match what the DOT has set up for their standards, for their quality control. So in this case, it found a line that was on the wrong layer. So it says it failed. So if I right click on it and I pick fix layer, it comes up, select my correction layer. For this example, I'm just going to pick on the first layer and hit OK. You'll see it's removed from the list. And then what you're drawing is it is now, when you hover over, it's now moved it to that correct layer. Now, the QC tool works when you either run it manually or when you exit the drawing. When you exit the drawing, it will give you a compliance, and we'll do that in just a second. Okay, we have a tool here for QC project, and that tool goes through and it allows you to basically generate a report for all the files in the select, tells you what's wrong. Okay, if you want to turn QC off, you can use QC stop tool, right? And then you have a QC batch tool that batch checks the selected drawing files for compliance and generates a report. So you have one that does kind of everything and the one that does the things that you want. Okay, then we have some geotech tools over here for drawing boreholes, right, labels, right, and a manager. Then over here you have links and help. And this, when this pops up, this just basically gives you different web links that you can go to. It has the FDOT links for different things for the FDOT, right? Links for CAD support. And then in here it shows you some of the people in the central office, Randy and Mike and John, that can help you out with the kit as well. Okay. And then we also, down here, you'll see it tells you what version you're working in. It tells you what FDOT state kit version that you're using. Okay. And then over here, you also have a little installed version tool that you pick on, and it'll tell you again what you've got. All right. So those are basically the tools that I wanted to kind of talk about in here. So let me jump back over here real quick because I'm watching the time pretty closely. Now, sometimes when you install the kit and you start it for the first time, or you've been working on it for a while, and all of a sudden you'll see at your command prompt that the FDOT ribbon doesn't work, it doesn't find it. So what that means is maybe your profile has a problem. So the way that you fix it is this: is you exit Civil 3D. Okay, you go to your FDOT.2025.C3D folder and you select the profile scrubber. You pick scrub. When it's done, it says okay. You hit okay to exit out. Okay, then you start Civil 3D back up again. Then on your drawing area, you right click and you go to options. Then you go to the profiles tab. Now what you've got to do is you've got to make another profile this current profile. So to select on your Civil 3D Imperial profile, set it as current. Then you would select the old FDOT profile and you would delete it. Then you would pick the import button. And then you, in our case, you would go to the FDOT 2025.C3 support profiles. You would pick on that ARG file and you would basically hit OK. And then it should set it as current. And then you should be able to go back and type in the FDOT ribbon command and it should come back up. That should fix your problem. Okay. Now another problem that we run into from time to time is that when we are working in a drainage project and we're starting to go in and create our drainage pipe, in our structures, it says that it can't find the specific, pipe catalog settings. So to fix that, what you have to do is this. Is you go to the Home tab is one way to do it. Remember, in Civil 3D, there are more than one ways to do things. We go to the Create Design panel. We pick the Create Design button, and we pick Set Network Pipe Catalog. And probably the first time you come into the kit, this is probably going to be blank. So what you do is you go over and you look for the folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our FDOT 2025 folder, all right? And we're going to go to Data, and we're going to pick on Pipes Catalogs, and we're going to hit Open, and then we just have to hit it open again, and then it should automatically populate, all right, these catalogs, okay, for your Imperial and for your structured catalog. Now, while I've got us in here in this particular file, I'm going to go to the Settings tab, and I'm going to go over under Pipe Network, and I'm going to go into parts list, and I'm going to go into the FDOT drainage parts list, and right click and go to edit. And you'll see that these in this particular template, it has all the under pipes. Let's see, it should have them all. Sometimes when we're doing a presentation, it messes up some of these screens in here. So you may have to take my word for this. There we go, and there it came back. So there you go. So there's your structures, okay? Or if we pick on pipes, we can get to our structure, we can get to our pipes. Now, if I go to the drainage family here, and I right click, well, it's just not gonna do what I want to do today, which is okay. One more click. Nope. So we've just got something kind of funky going on right now, which always happens when you're doing a presentation. Let me just try it one more time. All right. So I right click, I do the edit. All right, right click on it. There we go. Add a part family. And you can see that these are the part families that are in the catalog that have not been brought into that parts list. All right. So I can pick on those and bring them in. Now go over here to pipes. Yep. All right. And I right click. Add a part family. You can see that these are the pipe families that have been brought into my parts list. But you can see that there's just a number of different pipe types they've got in here, and there's quite a bit of structures that have been built specifically for the FDOT. Okay, it's in the catalog that only comes with the FDOT state kit. So we'll get out of there. Let's jump back over to here. Okay. So we've come to our section here, Alan, on questions. So does anybody asked any questions?
Right, perfect. I do have a couple that have rolled in here. So the first one, can you show me again where I can download the FDOT state kit?
Sure. Let me just jump back over to my presentation real quick. So again, just go out to Google and type in FDOT state kit, and then when you get your search, just simply pick on this result right here, and it will take you to this page where you just pick on the FDOT.c3d right here, and that will basically then download that zip file to your local drive, and then you just unzip it and then start the installation like I showed you previously.
Perfect. All right, next one here. Would this work on double barrel pipes?
You know, I have not seen double barrel pipes. I think that's something that I know what you're asking for, and I believe that's something that people have been asking for within, I think, Autodesk, just the plain Civil 3D program. So for right now, I believe the answer to that is no.
Okay. What limitations are there for the AutoCAD only installation?
Again, that is a question I'm going to have to defer to get. I'll have to send you a response on that because I have not actually used that one. But again, the only thing is that has to be installed on a machine that only has AutoCAD installed. All right, it cannot have Civil 3D installed with the state kit already installed. So an AutoCAD only installation, then you can install the AutoCAD only state kit install on that one, and everything should work fine. And it's just kind of a stripped down version of the tool set that's in the full Civil 3D kit.
Okay, perfect. Can you place drainage structures, or how can you place drainage structures? I'm sorry.
The drainage structures are just like you would do in regular Civil 3D. You go in and create yourself, your pipe network, and then you just go through those tools to basically, you pick your pipes, you pick your pipe size, and then you pick your drainage type, and then you go over to the tool where you're going to apply your pipe by either laying pipes only or structures only, or you can lay your pipes and structures. It works just like it does in regular Civil 3D, except you're using your parts list from your FDOT parts list instead of your Civil 3D parts list that you may have created. But it works exactly the same way.
Perfect. Is there any problem with using a save as to create new drawings in the FDOT kit to create new drawings?
Now you can do a save as, but remember we deal with that file naming convention that they have. They have certain file naming conventions that they're looking for, so that when they're running, that cleanup tool, sometimes if you have file names that don't match their conventions, it may cause a problem. You may have to go back and rename some of those. But yes, you can do a save as to save, a file that you created from the Create File tool, and then, put it into the proper folder, and then you can work with it. And that brings up another good point, that sometimes people will go in there, like they have a SURD 01 file, and then they'll go do a save as, and they'll save it as like 05. And then the next time they go into Create File tool and they want to create another, SURVRD file, they think it's going to be 06. No, it finds the next available file, which in this case, if you only had a 01, the next available file name would be 02. It doesn't start up whenever you've done a manually, file save or renamed a file to something different. It remembers the last, it looks for in that list, 01, what's the next one? 02. All right, so we wouldn't. So if you had renamed a file to 05 or 06, it wouldn't say the next file is 07 or 08. It's going to go back to the next available number that it sees. So that's a good question, which is you can do that, but you may run into some issues down the road when you're delivering a file if it doesn't match their file naming conventions.
Okay. Do you need a project number to be able to use the FDOT state kit?
To use the kit, you don't need a valid number, but as my little example, when you use the Create Project tool, just create a project with whatever, like all ones or all twos or whatever combination you want to use. But you have to have a project in order to use the Create File tool, because that file tool is looking for a project, it's looking for a discipline that you're going to be working in, and then it gives you the different types of files you can create. And then when you create that file, it's going to go into, in this case, the survey folder underneath that, whatever the project you created it. So yes, you have to, you can create to play with it, just create a fictitious name like all ones or whatever, just to create the project. But you have to use the Create File tool in order for it to go through and create that project and then create the DST file that it needs. And those DST files are typically used when you get into creating your sheets for outputting, so it helps fill in your title blocks, the best I remember.
Okay, perfect. And the questions keep rolling in, so we're going to see what we can get through here by the end.
Okay.
Is it possible to create a special drainage structure?
Yes, you can. There was a tool that Autodesk used, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it is. I think it was called the Model Builder, that you would go in and be able to go in and create a custom structure. All right, now there's also a new infrastructure design tool that Autodesk came out with a few years ago that lets you go and build custom structures, but it's a pretty good tool. But basically, it lets you you build the base of it, you build the top of it, and then you build the type of inlet that you've got in there. So it's kind of limiting in there, but yes, you can build some simple structures using this new infrastructure design tool that's available as a download from your subscription site. Most of the years ago, most of the structures that were built in that model build or build model tool. And now a lot of people are using Autodesk's Inventor to build all their custom structures. So that would mean you'd have to own a copy of Inventor in order to be able to build custom structures. So those are the two free tools are the ones that I was telling you about. Let me see. Let me just jump over here real quick. Under Create Design, close this out. There it is. It's called the Part Builder. For some reason, I had Model Builder in my head. So Part Builder is a tool that you can create and you can add your network parts. So that's a tool that's been around for a pretty good while in Civil 3D. Not Model Builder, don't know where that came from. And then here's your infrastructure parts editor tool that I was telling you about. So those two tools can be used to build custom part structures using the tools that are provided in Civil 3D. If you want to do something really kind of outside of the ordinary, then you might have to build them in Inventor, which is what a lot of people have used. At least that's what I've been told a lot of people have used to build their custom tools for. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we are kind of out of time here. For those of you who did send questions that we didn't make it to, you can email those to us. The email should be on this last slide here. It's info@ddscad.com. You can send those over and we will send you answers via email to those questions. So thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you to FES for hosting us today. Thank you for Doug for the awesome presentation. Clearly, we had a lot of questions coming in here at the end and a lot of engagement, so it's always great to see that. You know, that these presentations are interesting in terms of the topics for you guys. So again, thank you all so much. For those, by the way, that did ask, how do you do this again or how do you do that again? Keep in mind, you will be receiving a recording of this presentation to your email a little bit later today, so you may be able to find some of your answers there. Okay, thank you all so much. Thanks, Doug. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having me. Bye.